It's almost time. Come on. I just paid off my internet bill. Okay, looks like I'm on Kick. Looks like I'm on Twitter. Looks like I'm on YouTube. Looks like I'm on Candle. Let's light a good fire and let's hose down and extinguish hell. Hey. Welcome to the first hit news break. Starting with this from the New York Post. Illegal Jordanian immigrants who tried to breach Quantico base allowed to walk free after posting bail. So I want this had better be some art of war. Because make think we're when Russia's strong, have some real law enforcement working in secret. 2 illegal Jordanian immigrants who are charged with trying to breach Marine Corps base Quantico in May posted thousands of dollars in bail and were allowed to leave federal custody. The Post can exclusively reveal. Hassan Youssef Hamdan, age 32, and Mohammed Khair Dabus, age 28, were released from Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention despite their immigration status. Hamdan had crossed into the country illegally in April, and Dabus had overstayed his student visa and is subject to removal proceedings. Law enforcement sources told the Post. They were arrested on May 3rd for trespassing onto the military installation and handed over to ICE officers because of their immigration statuses. It's still unknown why the men allegedly tried to get onto the base. The site is home to the FBI Academy and FBI Laboratory, as well as a Defense Intelligence Agency facility and several major U.S. Marine Corps commands, including the unit that flies the Marine One presidential helicopter. Big-time intel failure, security failure, a federal law enforcement source told the Post. Well, if it's the home of the FBI Academy, we know the FBI is horseshit, is garbage. So, is it really a loss? If it wasn't an act of terrorism, why aren't the government officials releasing the details of this? What was the intent? The men both posted bond in their ICE cases, with Hamdan set at $15,000 and the Dabus set at $10,000, and were released in early June, according to federal law enforcement sources. So, it is very important that we arm ourselves. I'm not saying we need to go looking for a fight, but we need to be prepared to fight off attackers, because there's like thousands, possibly millions of these creeps in our country. Hamdan and Dabus were charged with misdemeanor trespassing on military property and appeared before a judge for the first time on July 22nd, when they were ordered released on the conditions that they show up to court for the immigration proceedings and stay away from Quantico or other military bases, according to the court documents, which were first reported by Todd Bensman of the Center for Immigration Studies. Federal prosecutors supported their release on those conditions, according to the court documents. Hamdan entered the U.S. illegally via the southern border in San Diego in April, where he was released due to a lack of detention space, federal law enforcement sources told the Post. So he came in through San Diego, which is in California, and he made it all the way to Quantico, which I believe is on the East Coast. This guy traveled the entire length of the country. and made it to Quantico. This is the Chinese balloon all over again. Dalbus was in the U.S. illegally and overstayed his student visa, sources said. So they were issued citations for trespassing and told to appear in federal court in Alexandria on July 22nd, court papers show. Magistrate Judge William B. Porter signed off on their release on the condition that they continue to appear for future court dates in their criminal and immigration cases. They must also refrain from trespassing on any government property, including the Quantico facility, court papers show. The two Jordanian nationals lied to guards at Quantico and claimed they worked for an Amazon subcontractor and were there to make a delivery. Captain Michael Curtis, a spokesman for the base, previously told the Post. So, who paid for their bail? One of them was like $12,000 and the other was $10,000. I mean, does the two illegal aliens from Jordan have that kind of money? Unless they're sponsored by somebody. Again, we're dealing with people who have deep pockets and who have special treatment from the powers that be. I think we're learning that there's a secret power that's behind the government and it's not following the law. It plays favorites, and we need to practice self-defense. It also helps to investigate these so-called judges and prosecutors and whatever. So there's a really good website called truthfinder.com. I have like a 2-month subscription with them right now, and it's worth the money. I paid like $40 some for 2 months. I'm downloading so many profiles of government officials in my state of Iowa. I've downloaded all of the profiles on judges in my district, and I plan to go through them and look for anything suspicious. What's one thing suspicious you can look up? See if they have a profile to a website called OddPath. That's all I'm going to say. If you go to the website, don't touch anything. Don't even click on a link. But look at the logo, and you'll understand why that website is so... It's wood chipper central. Now, continuing. Why Chuck Schumer should be removed from the Senate for his usurpation of power. Chuck Schumer, this guy, he's a Democrat, therefore he was not elected. Okay, let's just stop giving Democrats the benefit of the doubt. I don't give Republicans the benefit of the doubt either. We haven't had the last true presidential election we had was 2016. That was the first real election we've had since McKinley. In an attempt to reverse the Supreme Court's immunity decision, Schumer introduces the No Kings Act. So yeah, Democrats on the left are wound up over the immunity case, and they think, well, they know the president doesn't have absolute immunity. It's, only what is prescribed in the Constitution, the powers that he has. They're pretending that any president now has the right to lie, cheat, and steal and murder. So we got to humiliate these guys. Like, they lie with such certitude and such confidence that we just need to make them. They don't respond to anything. They don't respond to facts and logic. They respond to emotion. So we get to humiliate them. We get to gang up on them. We have the facts on our side. So let us be confident and steamroll them. The article starts. This article is written by Mary Claire Jelonic. With each passing day, our nation is declining into a state of where civilization is no longer sustainable. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has introduced legislation seeking to strip Donald Trump of any immunity for his definition of criminal action, in a blatant usurpation of power, where he seeks to reverse the Supreme Court's landmark decision on Trump's immunity, calling this the No Kings Act, where he has asserted the unconstitutional attempt to strip the Supreme Court completely, stating that only Congress, not the Supreme Court, determines to whom criminal law is applied. Schumer had better study the law if he wants to pretend to be outraged over the Supreme Court's immunity decision regarding Trump. He would never say a word if it was concerning Biden. The people like Schumer are destroying the United States with their Marxist agenda. We should look at the immunity that senators and representatives have laid out in Article 2. They are privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to and returning from the same, and for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in neither place. The Founding Fathers put that in the Constitution, for they knew that people like Schumer would pull every trick to manipulate the country back then. Yet, all we hear is that Trump should be prosecuted for his speech on January 6th. Schumer is also a hypocrite, and I find it really offensive the antics he constantly pulls that are dividing the country. He should look at the fact that the Attorney General is absolutely immune, even if he recklessly indicts Trump or if a prosecutor brings charges against you, even for personal reasons. The Supreme Court previously held a state prosecuting attorney who, as here, acted within the scope of his duties in initiating and pursuing a criminal prosecution and presenting the state's case is absolutely immune from a civil suit for damages under 1983 for the alleged deprivation of the accused's constitutional rights. And they got a screenshot of the law ex post facto. The Latin translation of ex post facto is from a thing done afterward. In a legal context, ex post facto is most typically used to refer to a criminal statute that punishes actions retroactively, thereby criminalizing content that was legal when originally performed. Two clauses in the United States Constitution prohibit ex post facto laws. Article 1, Section 9, this prohibits Congress from passing any laws which apply ex post facto. And Article 1, Section 10, this prohibits the states from passing any laws which apply ex post facto. On top of the question of immunity, the very foundation of due process of law is notice. They cannot pass a law after you did something to make then it a crime. Hello, what's your name? Donald Trump ran me in you know the chick. This rhetoric coming from Schumer is so damaging to the country. He is driving our nation into civil war because he's out of control and believes himself to be a demigod, pushing his political vendetta against every principle of law and the building blocks that were the foundation of our country. He is a vile supporter of the deep state. Yeah, he's a good buddy of the intelligence community. Yeah, he's able to speak with such, confidence and evil because he's got friends in the intelligence community and also because he's a psychopathic creep. Schumer's acts are so anti-American and unconstitutional that he should not be representing anyone ever. Tripartite government, executive, Congress, Supreme Court, the separation of powers is the heading of this next section. Chuck Schumer has violated his oath of office, and this latest bill is a usurpation of power even worse than the Democrats' exaggeration of January 6th. He should be taken out of the Senate in chains, for he has sought to destroy everything that the United States was built upon. They have conspired against Trump and Robert Kennedy Jr. because they never want anyone from outside their little club on Capitol Hill. Obviously, Chuck Schumer is a complete idiot and should not be representing even a stray dog on Capitol Hill. If he understood the Constitution, he would know that the bill he has just introduced is so outrageous, it borders on not just partisanship, but outright treason against the United States. The leading case that every law student knows is Marbury versus Madison, which is a seminal case on this very subject of the separation of powers. I like to refer to Marbury versus Madison because it means all gun laws and arms laws are unconstitutional. You are legally allowed to own any weapon you want because any law repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. The fact that these unconstitutional, these illegitimate laws are enforced means there's some sort of power behind the scenes that's enabling all of this crime. It's probably, the banking cartel, the private Western Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, the IMF, all that. They control the money, therefore they can force government employees and law enforcement to do anything. Law enforcement has bills to pay just like everyone else. We are all on the hamster wheel. So this Marbury-Madison case goes, It began in January 1801 when then President John Adams had been defeated in his re-election bid. There was a vacant seat, and Adams sought to fill the position of Chief Justice at the U.S. Supreme Court before he left office. Adams initially asked former Chief Justice John Jay to return to take the position. However, John Jay turned down the offer. Adams then nominated his Secretary of State and close advisor, John Marshall, who had been a lawyer but never a judge, to take the position on the Supreme Court. The Senate unanimously confirmed him for the top spot on the court. With 2 months left in his term, Adams also asked Marshall to remain simultaneously as his Secretary of State and Chief Justice. Obviously, that was a huge conflict of interest, as he was serving in both the executive and the court, the executive branches and the judicial branches of the court at the same time. Adams was a Federalist who had just lost the election to his political enemy, Thomas Jefferson. In a partisan move, Adams rushed to fill as many other judicial positions as possible before his political rival took over. The hatred of Adams towards Jefferson was famous. They both died on July 4th, 1826, with Adams at the age of 90 and Jefferson at 83. On his deathbed, Adams spoke his last words. Thomas Jefferson still survives. He was mistaken. Jefferson had died 5 hours earlier at Monticello that same day. Nonetheless, this shows how our nation was also deeply polarized over the issue of centralized federal absolute control over individual states. On the day before Adams' term ended, he nominated 42 men to serve as justices of the peace, who were the lowest judges for minor legal cases, but they were Federalists. After the Senate approved his choices the next day, Marshall was assigned to finalize the paperwork and deliver the commissions. It was a mad rush, and he never got to 4 of them, including one belonging to a Virginia politician named William Marbury. Jefferson retaliates and withholds the 4 commissions, and Marbury petitions court. When Thomas Jefferson took the White House, he was somewhat perturbed at Adams' unethical antics in a desperate attempt to pack the federal courts and with political allies. Jefferson told his own Secretary of State, James Madison, to withhold 4 undelivered commissions. Marbury sued to get his job. Marbury could have gone to the U.S. Circuit Court or the District of Columbia, where he might have prevailed. However, Marbury went directly to the Supreme Court and petitioned for a writ of mandamus in order to command Madison to give them their commissions. On February 10th, 1803, the Supreme Court convened to hear the case, Marbury versus Madison. The case centered on 3 issues. First, did Marbury and the other appointees have a right to their commissions? Second, if they did have a right that had been violated, did federal law provide a remedy? Finally, was an order from the U.S. Supreme Court the proper remedy to solve the problem? Chief Justice Marshall, Adams' buddy and former Secretary of State, presided over the case. He should have recused himself under today's ethics, since he played a role in the very events in question. The Supreme Court found in Marbury's favor. However, it wasn't clear whether Jefferson would obey the court's decision or simply ignore it. If Jefferson ignored the Supreme Court, that would have placed the Supreme Court seriously in a position of being irrelevant. If the court ruled in favor of the Jefferson administration, it would appear like it had given into political pressure. Marshall was undoubtedly in a difficult position, and he wrote the decision. He found that Jefferson had violated Marbury's and the other appointees' rights when he blocked the commissions, since they had already been confirmed and affixed with seals. He further held that Marbury was entitled to sue and seek a legal remedy, and a federal judge could issue a writ offering Jefferson to comply. This was a very tall order. Was an order from the U.S. Supreme Court the proper remedy to solve the problem? This is from Article 3, Section 2, in Article 3, Section 2, Clause 1. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made, or which shall be made, under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between 2 or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands, grants in different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects. However, on the third question, things are very complicated. The Supreme Court's ability to hear Marbury's case directly was based on a portion of the Judicial Act of 1789. This act gave the court power to issue writs directly to federal office holders without a plaintiff going through a lower court. But as Marshall wrote, Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution already specified that the court had original jurisdiction in limited types of cases involving ambassadors and other ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be a party, and could only act as an appeals court in all others. Therefore, Congress's enlargement of the Supreme Court's jurisdiction was unconstitutional. In a landmark decision that has defined the separation of these three branches of government that Chuck Schumer has ignored, Marshall wrote, "The powers of the legislature are defined and limited, and those limits may not be mistaken or forgotten. The Constitution is written." As a result, Marshall concluded, the Constitution of the United States confirms and strengthens the principle, supposed to be essential to all written constitutions, that a law repugnant to the Constitution is void, and that courts, as well as other departments, are bound by that instrument. Marshall establishes the Supreme Court's authority. The decision in Marbury versus Madison was immediately recognized across the nation as the profound definition of our nation. The idea that the Supreme Court could overrule an act of Congress actually predated Marbury versus Madison, when Alexander Hamilton argued that very point in the Federalist Papers in 1788, where we find this principle now was firmly established in law. Thus, this case made clear that the ruling established the power of the federal courts over other branches of government to interpret the nation's laws. Marshall wrote, "It is emphatically the province and duty of the judicial department to say what the law is. Those who apply the rule to particular cases must of necessity expound and interpret that rule. If two laws conflict with each other, the courts must decide on the operation of each." Today, thanks to Marbury versus Madison, the federal court's authority is undisputed. Chuck Schumer has absolutely no justification to be in the Senate. He has rejected the law of the land, all for partisan politics. Schumer should be impeached and removed from office. That's suggesting he was elected in the first place. He is polarizing the country, and it is one thing if his argument is even lawful. But when he seeks to strip the Supreme Court of the very role of deciding what the law is, he has gone too far and should be removed for violating his oath of office and is a disgrace to our nation. Though, looks like this philosopher named Thrasymachus says, "The different forms of government make law democratical, aristocratical, tyrannical, with a view to their several interests, and these laws, which are made by them for their own interests, are the justice which they deliver to the subjects, and him who transgresses them they punish as a breaker of the law, and unjust." And that is what I mean when I say that in all states, there is the same principle of justice, which is the interest of the government, and as the government must be supposed to have power, the only reasonable conclusion is that everywhere there is one principle of justice, which is the interest of the stronger. As Thrasymachus said some 2,500 years ago, justice is the only self-interest of those in power. Schumer has proven that mixing law and politics is the death sentence for any society. We are rapidly approaching 2032, when it will be time to turn out the lights on the experiment called the Republic. Benjamin Franklin understood the cycles of time and circumstance. He was famously asked, "What do we have, a republic or a monarchy?" Franklin replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." So that ends that article. That was good. That was a good rundown of Marbury versus Madison, and really understanding why the Constitution is so important. So let's see. You're so fortunate in the United States to have a Constitution like we do. Other countries aren't so lucky, even those that have a long tradition of fair governance, like in Britain. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Chaos hits British town after a deadly attack on kids' event sparks residents' fury. You probably heard about this. A bunch of young girls were at a Taylor Swift themed dance party, and a few of them were stabbed to death by third world migrants. Fury raged through the English community of Southport on Tuesday after a knife attack left 3 girls dead and multiple other people wounded. The Southport Islamic Society Mosque was the focus of protests that led to clashes between rioters and police, according to GB News. A police van was set ablaze while marchers chanted, "No surrender," and "English till I die." Officials said 39 police officers were injured, 8 seriously, amid rioting that saw an emergency vehicle torched, according to the BBC. This is a very, very, very ugly show, says Josh Holiday in his tweet. Oh, yeah. Fiery but mostly peaceful. Huh? What do you say? Fiery, but mostly peaceful. Isn't that the standard? Of course not, because we're not dealing with rational people. The unrest followed a Monday attack on a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in this community about 20 miles north of Liverpool. 8 children and 2 adults were hospitalized, and both adults and 5 children listed in critical condition, according to the Associated Press. A 17-year-old male has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Police say that social media posts claiming the individual is an asylum seeker are false, claiming that he was born in Cardiff, Wales, and lived in a village north of Southport. Police have not released his name. The suspect's parents are from Rwanda, the officials said, according to the BBC. Josh Holiday again tweets, a police van has had its windscreen smashed by bricks. Smoke bombs, bins, and bottles have been thrown at the police from close quarters. Some chanting, "Allah, Allah, who the hell is Allah?" Watching this, I think the regular people are uniting in common cause. Like they're all in agreement. Now, I don't necessarily like mobs and crowds, but what has kept the regular people down for so long is isolation. The powers that be have made us all feel like we are weird for thinking the way we do, or questioning, the established narrative. Now that people are finding out, hey, we all agree that the elites, the so-called elites, are in the wrong. We are justified in acting, and that's when the whole Bug's Life, ants versus grasshoppers principle activates. Now, are cops in Britain armed with firearms? Someone tell me in the chat if you know that. The 3 girls killed have been identified as BB King, age 6, Elsie Dot Sancombe, age 7, and Alice De Silva Aguiar, age 9. They were so little. The rioting Tuesday followed a vigil in Southport where thousands gathered in mourning. King's family said no words could describe the devastation that has hit our family, while Aguiar's parents said that their late child would always be our princess and no one would change that. Window cleaner Joel Verite said he was passing the scene of the attacks on Monday when he saw a girl hanging from the side of her car, according to Sky News. Verite recounted, "I jumped out of the car and asked her if she was all right. She just looked in complete shock and had blood all over her body. She just screamed at me, 'He's killing kids over there! He's killing kids over there!'" He said he passed a car in which a woman had several wounded children in the vehicle. It was like a scene from a disaster film, he said. The woman just looked at me and said, "I just want to make sure these kids are safe." He said he went into the building where the attacks took place. He opened the door and there's a stairway. I opened the door and there's a stairway. I shouted hello to see if anyone was there. I just look up and there's this guy with a knife. Maybe he didn't realize I was going to be in there, but we locked eyes and then he scurried off, Verite described. All I saw was a knife, and I thought, there are more people in there. And I just wanted to hurt him so bad. But I was scared for myself, and I wanted to help people. So I came outside and was screaming because I knew where he was, he said. This article appeared originally in the Western Journal. So, yeah. So, if you're in the U.S., go to Amazon and buy yourself a knife. There's some good brands are Cold Steel, Gerber, K-Bar. And look up some self-defense fighting techniques on YouTube. I hear Filipino martial arts are very good at knife fighting drills. So, from the Gateway Pundit, 14 people arrested in human trafficking sting at Comic-Con event. Holy crap. 14 people were arrested in a human trafficking sting during the annual Comic-Con event in San Diego, California. California Attorney General Rob Bonta announced the operation was conducted between July 25th and 27th, and a total of 10 victims were rescued, including one child. According to KTLA, undercover state and local agents posed as sex buyers in an attempt to identify trafficking victims and their traffickers. In a statement, Attorney General Rob Bonta stated, unfortunately, sex traffickers capitalize on large-scale events such as Comic-Con to exploit their victims for a profit. These arrests send a clear message to potential offenders that their criminal behavior will not be tolerated, added Bonta. So, Comic-Con is fine. You see a lot of cosplayers in sexy outfits. I mean, might be a good thing to carry pepper spray. Per the Hollywood Reporter, 14 people were arrested and 10 victims were recovered in a human trafficking sting during Comic-Con over the weekend, authorities said. The operation to recover victims of sex trafficking and target sex buyers using the San Diego Convention was initiated from July 25th to the 27th, according to the California Department of Justice San Diego Human Trafficking Task Force. Unfortunately, sex traffickers capitalize on large scale. Okay, we already read that. These arrests send a clear message to potential offenders that their criminal behavior will not be tolerated. We are grateful to all our dedicated partners involved in the San Diego Human Trafficking Task Force, whose collaboration has been invaluable. We take great pride in our police's commitment to uplifting vulnerable Californians by offering them assistance and guidance when they need it. Damn, Comic-Con. Less than 2 weeks. This is from Gateway Pundit. Less than 2 weeks as the VP nominee, and J.D. Vance has already visited the border. Has your border czar done anything you've asked her to do? Everyone's saying, oh, Kamala Harris is not really the border czar. They lie. Less than 2 weeks? Okay. Border czar Kamala Harris has been famously dismissive about a trip to visit the border to see with her own eyes the devastation that has been unleashed on America because of the failed Biden-Harris border policies. Is it really failure if they're deliberately letting the bad guys in? In 2021, NBC's Today host Lester Holt asked her about her absence at the southern border and asking if she had any plans to visit. We've been to the border, Kamala insisted. You haven't been to the border, Lester Holt said. And I haven't been to Europe. I don't understand the point you're making, Kamala Harris said dismissively while laughing. Okay, here's a tweet of the video. Should we play it? Is it cringe? I have very low tolerance for cringe, but here we go. How does someone this idiotic, this brain dead, get to positions of power? What does it take to have everything handed to you like this? What mathematical formula you have to fall under? Less than 2 weeks after being named Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance has already visited the border. Vance spoke to reporters from the southern border. When the media lies about Kamala Harris being the border czar, here's what you're lying about. You cannot have an effective border policy unless you have somebody who is coordinating all the different agencies of the U.S. federal government. You need the State Department involved to send people back to their home countries. You need the Department of Justice involved to prosecute these terrible drug crimes. And of course, you need the Department of Homeland Security involved so that the Border Patrol is empowered to do their job. Kamala Harris, as border czar, was asked to coordinate all these functions of the government, and she's done nothing. Every time I ask these guys, and I even asked, Brandon, Paul, let's play devil's advocate here. Tell me, has Kamala Harris done anything you've asked her to do? She is a border czar. Has your border czar done anything you've asked him to? The answer is no. They send letters, they make phone calls, they are begging the American president and vice president for leadership, and their own border czar ignores them. That is a scandal. That is a disgrace. To every American watching this, it will stop. But only if you elect Donald J. Trump president in a few months. God bless you guys. Thank you for working here. Now, the only thing I disagree with J.D. Vance here is calling Biden and Harris the president and vice president. He has to say that because he's walking a tightrope. But I only call Biden the president if I'm quoting someone else. We do not have to acknowledge this crap unless you're walking the tightrope. Proud Elephant tweets, Senator J.D. Vance at the southern border. Has Kamala done anything you've asked her to do? She is the border czar. Has your border czar done anything you've asked her to do? Asking all the right questions. So I think we need to play the video because I already read the quote. But we're chugging along here. Just checking things. One more article from the Gateway Pundit, then we'll talk about my first sponsor of this video. International Boxing Association breaks silence and slams Olympic committee after allowing boxers who failed gender tests to complete at Paris Olympics. Now, I'm uploading an exclusive video to my locals page about how liars and deep state flacks and bullies try to confuse us and try to deceive us with their lies. It's all about emotional manipulation and the confidence that comes from total narcissism. So that video is loading and right now. And if you are a paid member of my locals page, you can watch it. But here's an example of, bullying tactics. The International Boxing Association has issued a scathing statement aimed at the International Olympic Committee regarding its controversial eligibility guidelines for the Paris 2024 Olympics. The IBA's remarks came in the wake of a shocking boxing match that has ignited fierce debates about fairness and safety in women's sports. In a match that lasted just 46 seconds, Italian boxer Angela Carini faced off against Algerian athlete Imani Khalif. Carini was quickly overwhelmed, succumbing to just 2 punches before dropping her helmet and calling the situation unjust. The scene escalated as Carini fell to the ground in tears, refusing to shake hands with Khalif. In response to controversy, the International Boxing Association has issued a statement addressing recent media reports about the athletes Lin Yuting and Imani Khalif, particularly regarding their participation in the Paris Olympic Games 2024. Imani Khalif of Algeria and Lin Yuting of Taiwan, both of whom are not transgender, competed in the Tokyo Olympics in 2021 and have won medals at previous world boxing tournaments. However, last year, the International Boxing Association, the governing body for the sport, disqualified Khalif and Lin during the tournament, according to Slate. The IBA's criticism extends the IOC's allowance of athletes with potential competitive advantages, calling into question not only fairness but also athlete safety. The association urged stakeholders and interested parties to seek clarifications directly from the IOC regarding its policies. Let's read the full statement. As stated, the International Boxing Association feels it is important at this prevalent time to address recent media statements regarding those athletes, Lin Yuting and Imani Kalev, particularly regarding their participation in the Paris Olympic Games 2024. We wish to make the following points in these regards. On 24th of March 2023, IBA disqualified athletes Lin Yuting and Imani Kalev from the IBA Women's Boxing Championship in New Delhi in 2023. This disqualification was a result of their failure to meet the eligibility criteria for participating in the women's competition as set and laid out in the IBA regulations. This decision, made after a meticulous review, was extremely important and necessary to uphold the level of fairness and utmost integrity of the competition. Point to note, the athletes did not undergo a testosterone examination, but were subject to a separate and recognized test, whereby the specifics remain confidential. This test conclusively indicated that both athletes did not meet the required necessary eligibility criteria and were found to have competitive advantages over other female competitors. The decision made by IBA on March 24, 2023, was subsequently ratified by the IBA Board of Directors on March 25, 2023. The official record of this decision can be accessed on the IBA website here, and there's a link to the article, the page. The disqualification was based on two tests conducted on both athletes as follows. Tests performed during IBA Women's World Boxing Championships in Istanbul 2022. Tests performed during the IBA Women's Boxing Championship in New Delhi 2023. For clarification, Lin Yuting did not appeal the IBA's decision to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, thus rendering the decision legally binding. Imani Kalev initially appealed the decision to CAS, but withdrew the appeal during the process, also making the IBA decision legally binding. Our committees have rigorously reviewed and endorsed the decision made during the World Championships. While IBA remains committed to ensuring competitive fairness in all our events, we express concern over the inconsistent application of eligibility criteria by other sporting organizations, including those overseeing the Olympic Games. The IOC's differing regulations on these matters, in which IBA is not involved, raise serious questions about competitive fairness and athlete safety. For clarification on why the IOC permits athletes with competitive advantages to perform in their events, we urge interested parties to seek answers directly from the IOC. Now, I've heard stories from the Cold War where a bunch of Eastern Bloc athletes competed in women's events, but they were either so jacked up on steroids or they were probably biological males. So this is not a new thing. The difference is it's really out in the open, thanks to the internet. So now, the tests that were run on Caleb and Lin Yuting, who's the other one? Lin Yuting. Those tests were confidential, probably because of patient privilege, but they did determine that they were ineligible to compete in women's sports, in women's boxing. So the debate right now is, whether they were born women or whether they have male chromosomes and testosterone. And it's opening up the discussion on intersex or inversion. That is a rabbit hole I have kind of dipped my toe in. There's a lot of talk that Hollywood actresses and celebrities are really men. I'm not sure I'm ready to believe that, but if anyone wants to make some memes about Cher and Madonna, I would be delighted to spread them around on social media. So, take that, do what you will on that. Go where the spirit leads you. Now, let's check, see if I have any chats here. And I am going to leave this stream up on Rumble and Kick and YouTube so you can view later. I've got so many ways for you to support this program. I want to bring you commentary and and analysis on today's events as a citizen journalist. I want to give credit to all the sources I'm reading here. Gateway Pundit, New York Post. We're going to come up to Not the Bee, and you can look up all these articles yourself and support these very, valid news organizations, because it's a new age. It's a new age of media accountability. The corporate media, the CNN, the MSNBC, even Fox News. I'm on the fence on New York Post, because I think they're probably mainstream conservative media, neocon, but we can filter out the good from the bad there. But we're a little bit later. We're going to see a very long-established game publication has folded, and it probably deserved to fold because it was such a corporate stooge. But one way you can support my channel is by clicking the link to the Wellness Company. The Wellness Company, spearheaded by Dr. Peter McCullough, has been at the forefront of alternative medicine. We are waking up to the corruption of the establishment medical community. We saw the TikTok dances in the hospitals by the nurses. We saw forced vaccination of an experimental drug. I was forced jabbed by my family. They told me I couldn't see my nephews unless, I took the jab. So this whole issue has broken up families. It's broken up businesses. It's, broken up society and reunited society against the establishment. So go to the Wellness Company, click on the link, and use my referral code in the description, and get yourself Spike support formula if you took the jab. Also, all these really cool supplements. They also sell med kits in order to prepare us for the next pandemic that they're going to unleash on us, because no way in hell is the establishment going to let us elect Donald Trump fair and square. They need a cover story. They need a plague. They need a war. They need something. So the Wellness Company is one of the only places that you can lawfully and legally get ivermectin. Ivermectin, we're going to find out, has so many uses against viruses. There's even talk that it might help certain cancers. So get on that. They also have virtual care. So you can have an online appointment with a licensed physician outside of the medical establishment. So take advantage. They're doing such great work. Click on the link, use my promo code, and you'll be doing this channel a favor, and you'll be doing yourself a favor, and you'll be building a parallel system against, to counteract Babylon. So let's continue here. NotTheBee.com, the sister site of the Babylon Bee. Study: lesbians are way more likely to commit crime, but gay men are less likely to commit crime. This is by Jessica Sweetoniowski. She writes, well, this is interesting. A study from the Netherlands published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that women in lesbian relationships are 69% more likely to commit crimes compared to straight women. On the other hand, gay men are 32% less likely to commit crimes compared to their heterosexual counterparts. Okay. The main theories as to why lesbians are as much more violent than gay men, according to the study's author, Stephen G.A. Vanderweer, are that growing up, sexual minorities may have dealt with more stress because of the fact that they are gay, which leads to higher crime rates compared to heterosexuals. Women in lesbian relationships would be more likely to commit crimes due to the effects of sexual hormones, particularly testosterone. The authors use data from Statistics Netherlands, which tracks whether people are in same-sex or opposite-sex relationships and their criminal behavior. They looked at data from over 3.5 million people, about 2% of whom have been in a same-sex relationship at least once, around 75,000 people. Of these, 15% were suspected of committing a crime between 1996 and 2020, and 90% of those accused were found guilty or paid a fine. The study found that 22% of men in opposite sex relationships were suspected of a crime, compared to only 14% of men in same sex relationships. For women, 7% in straight relationships were crime suspects, while just under 9% of women in same sex relationships were suspected. This pattern held for all types of crime except drug offenses, where 0.5% of women in both types of relationships were accused. The results of the study suggest that men in opposite sex relationships were often suspected of a crime than men in same sex relationships, while women in opposite sex relationships were less often suspected of a crime than women in same sex relationships. So, if I'm reading this correctly, lesbians seem to have more rage than gay men. So, or as It's Gundam pointed out a few weeks ago, it's as if women in relationships cause more stress. I'm paraphrasing. Moving on, California father wins custody battle after mother tried to raise boy as non-binary. This California dad just won the custody battle for his son. The mom allegedly forced the child to wear dresses and glitter to raise him as non-binary. You always have to be careful with custody battles, which are often extremely bitter and where mothers and fathers sometimes make things up about each other in order to give themselves an edge in court. Still, it's California, so this is absolutely more than plausible. New York Post says, dad wins full custody of son, age 4, after child's mother allegedly tried to raise him non-binary. This poor little guy. A California father said he's been granted full custody of his 4-year-old son following a protracted legal battle with the boy's mother, who allegedly forced the child to wear dresses and glitter because she wanted to raise him as a non-binary. So, is this anywhere near Hollywood? Harrison Tinsley told the Daily Signal podcast that he prevailed in the years-long court battle to win full custody of Sawyer, which the dad likened to watching a miracle. Tinsley claimed that his ex-girlfriend, the boy's mother, identifies as a lesbian and non-binary herself, and was allegedly determined to oppose the same ideology on the young man. This included a cruel campaign of gaslighting, like referring to Sawyer with they-them pronouns over his protestation, forcing him to wear girls' diapers, dresses, and makeup, the dad claimed. The woman allegedly suffers from serious underlying mental health problems. No kidding. Tinsley was first able to secure 50-50 custody of his son, but after the mother was arrested for alleged felony child endangerment, the father received full custody. Tinsley called his son his best friend and the most amazing, greatest blessing of his life, and hit the nail on the head here. Kids don't care about sex or identity or all these fake weird concepts. They just care about having fun and spending time with their parents. Glad to see the kids in better hands now. So, what a cute little guy. Yeah. There's so much talk about the need for fathers to raise healthy, mentally healthy, well-adjusted, law-abiding citizens. And anytime a mother or anytime a father is undermined in that role, whether by the system actions, the children either become OnlyFans models or felons. This article from Not the Me by Cardinal Pritchard says liberal white women are actually like this and it reaches extreme levels of embarrassing. Liberal white women seriously need to take a step back and observe themselves from an outsider's perspective. Like, listen to this woman talk and notice how insanely out of touch she is as she speaks on a white woman for Kamala Zoom call. Okay. Sucking myself up for more cringe. As white women need to use our... I'm just going to walk. I'm just... Speak for yourself, lady. Okay. White privilege. I don't think this chick ever had a good education. I don't think this chick ever had, a positive male role model in her life, father figure. So this isn't as cringe as I feared, but it's still pretty silly. BIPOC, systemic, collective, privilege. These are all terms used by someone who doesn't view people as individuals. They can only define people as in groups. So I don't know if this is this is a psychological condition. I don't know if this is a matter of upbringing. I don't know if this is a matter of conditioning by the school system. It could be all, or it could be all of these things put together. Okay, moving on from this. Lady, I get the whole inclusion thing and being respectful of people who don't look like you, but this is straight brainwashing right here. I mean, listen to yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself taking over, or you're speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat, and instead we can put our listening ears on. As white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn. Sounds like someone's been reading a little too much Ibram Kendi. And why is she talking to other white women as if they're children? Listening ears? So yeah, these people aren't emotionally mature. I want to think I am, but maybe I just have too much integrity to work for a full-time corporate employer, and that's why I do gig work. More cringe. Michelle Obama launched a celebrity-studded "Get Out the Vote" video days after backing Kamala Harris, because everyone trusts Hollywood celebrities in 2024. Michelle Obama launched a celebrity-packed "Get Out the Vote" video featuring NBA star Steph Curry, actress Kerry Washington, and soccer player Megan Rapinoe, among others. The video comes after the former First Lady publicly endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign. The video posted up to the Instagram account for the organization When We All Vote, launched by Obama in 2018. The former First Lady, I don't know about that, the former First Lady is seen calling celebrities saying, "Hey, it's Michelle. Are you voting this year?" "Yeah, absolutely," replies an enthusiastic Megan Rapinoe, who has been an outspoken Democrat openly attacking rightful President Donald Trump for years. In another clip, Hollywood producer Shonda Rhimes, who pushes a pro-abortion agenda and has hosted a star-studded fundraiser for President Joe Biden before he ended his re-election campaign, responds, "Of course I am. 100% yes," exclaimed singer Raina Roberts, while Kerry Washington replies, "Obviously." So we're not going to watch this video. It's probably more than I can handle. Meanwhile, San Antonio Spurs point guard Chris Paul is heard answering, "You already know." "Now it's your turn to answer the call," Michelle says to the camera. "We are just 100 days away from the general election. From our local elected officials to ballot measures on reproductive rights, the environment, and our economy," the former First Lady continues, "our future is on the ballot. So are you voting this year?" The video then segues to Rhimes, Paul, and beauty influencer Bretman Rock, respectively, echoing Obama's question asking the camera, "Are you voting this year?" The video then cuts to Roberts, who says, "Join me," and then to Curry, who echoes the call. "Join us," Obama adds, "by getting registered and ready to vote with when we all vote today." Notably, the video comes after Obama and her husband, former President Barack Obama, endorsed Harris's bid for the White House following Biden's announcement that he was ending his re-election campaign. They were all supporting Biden. Now they're all pretending to support Harris. So don't get too attached to Kamala. Whether or not she goes the distance to November, I mean, we saw what they did with Biden. I mean, these people don't have a plan. They're making it up as they go. On Friday, Michelle Obama posted a video to X depicting herself and her husband calling Harris. I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, "I'm proud of you," Michelle is heard saying to Harris on speakerphone in the video. This is going to be historic. We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office. So this is a black mark on the Obama's reputation. I mean, if they're I don't know if they're really hurting Netflix with all their movie deals and documentary deals. So the vice president went on to say, "Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I'm looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road." I don't know if I want to read all this. It's really cringe. It's all a bunch of quotes. The mainstream media, including CNN, Washington Post, and Newsweek, appear to be working overtime in their efforts to produce dubious headlines immediately after the assassination attempts, publishing articles titled "Trump's Speech Interrupted by Secret Service. Secret Service Rushes Trump Off Stage After He Falls at Rally. Trump Escorted Away After Loud Noises at PA Rally. And Trump Removed from Stage After Loud Noises Startles the Former President and Crowd," among others. Big Tech, meanwhile, has been caught censoring and failing to answer questions about what transpired in Butler on July 13th. And these aren't just spurious claims. They have links to other articles which go into detail over that. So what a great time for real news media. Now, let's talk about gold. Let's talk about alternative assets besides your 401k or your mutual fund. I promote Rechargeable a whole lot, and I also promote Noble Gold Investments. You know, you can move your retirement plan outside of the stock market into precious metals like gold and silver. Why would you do that? Well, your 401k supports world corporations like Disney, like CNN, like MSNBC, like Amazon. You know, your 401k is probably managed by groups like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, or even to a lesser extent maybe Fidelity or Morgan Stanley. Woke money managers use your money to impose your will on all sorts of corporations that you either buy from or work for, that's, you know, to impose beliefs that you don't agree with or don't abide with. So one way to counteract that is to file a class action lawsuit against these money managers for violating their fiduciary duty. Another way is to move your retirement out of those corporate stock market and into an alternative asset like gold or silver or like cryptocurrency with Rechargeable. So click on the link. I'm very proud to support Noble Gold and have their support and to be a referral partner. So Eric Metaxas, the great Christian author, I read his biography. I read parts of his biography about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and it was superb. You know, I'm really glad to be in Eric Metaxas' company on this group. So we are building a parallel economy to counteract the corporate tyranny and financial tyranny of the corporations and the banks. And some might even say the American corporation that was foisted on us in 1871. I don't have enough information about that to speak with certainty. I do have enough information to speak about the Federal Reserve and what a racket it is. So invest in alternative assets. And we'll talk about cryptocurrency a little later. Zero Hedge. This is from Modernity News by way of Zero Hedge. Turns out Hillary Clinton is the biggest donor to extremist climate protesters in the United Kingdom. You know those posh blue, pink-haired children who've got nothing better to do but glue themselves to the road and throw soup at Van Gogh paintings? Hillary Clinton is funding them. Aha! That is according to The Telegraph, which reports that financial disclosures from Hillary Clinton's Onward Together leftist think tank show it donated over $500,000 in the past 3 years to the Climate Emergency Fund, which is the largest backer of Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion. So you heard the stories about climate activists vandalizing or attempting to vandalize classical artwork or even the Magna Carta. They spray painted on Stonehenge. They glue themselves to roads and highways, to the floors of car shows. What do you think they're trying to accomplish? They're trying to make us mad and stir up our emotions. But what they're really doing is pissing us off. It's just like, it's probably some sort of Hegelian moral, moral exploitation. Think of BLM and the George Floyd protests, riots. They mixed in agent provocateurs into legitimate protests against police brutality, and they try to make us support riots by applying the Motte-Bailey technique, Motte-Bailey fallacy, to mix in evildoers along with legitimate, mainstream causes with mainstream support. This really is satanic. The Telegraph tweets, Just Stop Oil stunts are partly funded by a campaign organization run by Hillary Clinton, U.S. financial disclosures reveal. Read the full story here. The report notes the donations are the largest contribution by Mrs. Clinton's organization to a nonprofit in the last 3 years, and are funded by public contributions and the sale of merchandise from her online shop. Onward Together donated $300,000 to the CEF in 2021 and a further $200,000 in 2022. The money was then put into a fund and eventually used to pay for Just Stop Oil's protests in the UK. Just Stop Oil recently vandalized the prehistoric Stonehenge site in the UK and has this week, again, been in the headlines for causing disruption at London's Heathrow Airport. Video of the spray painting of Stonehenge. As we previously highlighted, Just Stop Oil, an offshoot of Extinction Rebellion, is literally funded by billionaires. Shock troops for globalist technocrats pushing for the same net zero agenda. They're the ultimate creature of the establishment. Now, we're not going to watch this video because it's 11 minutes long. But there were two old folks who tried to smash the glass case where the Magna Carta is shown, and I immediately thought of King Charles. He's all in on that climate garbage. How much you want to bet he would love to do away with the Magna Carta? Continuing with Zero Hedge, sourced by Remix News. The West sees immigration as a way of getting rid of the economy that is the basis of the nation state. Viktor Orban is one of the few legitimate leaders in Europe. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's speech at Tusvanios in Romania. In Viktor Orban's speech, he focuses on the intractable differences developing between the East and West of Europe, with immigration one of the key divisions. He not only rejects the Western view on immigration, but sees it as an agenda with a very specific ideology behind it, which is designed to erode the nation-state entirely. But Westerners, quite differently, believe that nation-states no longer exist. They therefore deny that there is a common culture and a public morality based on the nation state. There is a public morality. If you watched the Olympic openings yesterday, you saw it. So they also think differently about migration. They believe that migration is not a threat or a problem, but in fact a way of getting rid of the ethnic homogeneity that is the basis of a nation. This is the essence of the progressive liberal international concept. That is why the absurdity does not occur to them, or they do not see it as absurd. So, yeah, think about the Olympic opening ceremony. In years past, the opening ceremony was supposed to be a cultural celebration of the host country. But this year in France, they cobbled together artists and scenes from different countries. France, the only thing I noticed about that was uniquely French was that lady portraying a beheaded Marie Antoinette and the French metal band Gojira playing along with her. Otherwise, they reenacted the Last Supper with drag queens, and they did something like they did that pale horse, that rider on a pale horse. But yeah, I don't think the elites in French really recognize France as a country. They want to abolish, nation states and institute global government. Now, the United States is not an ethno state. It's got civic nationalism. We are ruled by the laws of the Constitution and our creed to uphold, the ideals of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We are welcoming to all races, ethnicities, and people groups, as long as you follow the laws of our country, which were established way back when. Other countries, which are ethno-states, they are usually composed of a certain people group, that is either native to that country or well established in that land. National borders change all the time throughout history. I mean, migrants come and go, nomads come and go, territory is conquered or liberated, but certain ethnic groups have been ruled by different empires or another over the centuries. Hungary used to be part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and used to include a lot of other ethnic groups, but national identity is key to actually maintaining law and order. And the only legitimate global regime there is the kingdom of God. Continuing with the article. He said that this contrast between East and West is playing out through war and the movement of peoples, saying that while hundreds of thousands of Christian people are killing each other in the East, in the West of Europe, we are letting hundreds of thousands of people into a foreign civilization, which is absurd from our Central Europeans' point of view. Yeah. A lot of these countries resent being called Eastern European. They're Central European because Eastern European is Russia and Ukraine. This dramatic ideological cleavage is not a secret, according to Orban. He said that the documents and policy papers coming out of the European Union show that the clear aim is to transcend the nation. Yep. Bingo. The point is that the powers, the sovereignty, should be transferred from the nation states to Brussels. This is the logic behind all major measures. In their minds, the nation is a historical or transitional formation of the 18th and 19th centuries. As it came, so it may go. They are already in a post-national state in the western half of Europe. It's not just a politically different situation. What I'm trying to talk about is it's a new mental space. Orban says that the Hungarian perspective is different, which is why the government is taking measures to ensure that it is a resilient social structure, and the first step is to combat Hungary's demographic decline. He noted that the progress in this area has made in the preceding years, but acknowledged that it has been at a standstill and new measures must begin. And so many countries are having population declines. We know it's really bad in Japan and South Korea, and a lot of that is driven by economics It's untenable to really. People can't afford to raise a family and raise children. Why are certain ethnic groups and migrants able to raise children? Well, they're probably getting preferential treatment by the government. Things like welfare, things like um, benefits, things like bias, biased courts. By 2035, Hungary should be demographically self-sustaining. There is no question of a population being replaced by migration. The Western experience is that if there are more guests than owners, the home is no longer a home. The risk should not be taken here. Orban notes that not everyone in the West is happy about demographic transformation taking place in their countries. And in many cases, there are strong majorities against continued mass immigration. This, in turn, has led to a sharp increase in repression against dissenting voices and increasingly undemocratic trends in Western countries. Yeah, this whole thing started with the war in Syria, and that was probably deliberately started to cause the crisis. And finally, the last element of reality is that this post-national situation that we see in the West has a serious, I would say dramatic, political consequence that is shaking democracy. Societies are increasingly resistant to migration, gender, war, and globalism. And this creates the political problem of elites and the people, elitism and populism. This is a dominant phenomenon in Western politics today. This means that the elites condemn the people for drifting to the right. The feelings and ideas of the people are labeled xenophobia, homophobia, and nationalism. The people, meanwhile, in response, accuse the elite of not caring about what is important to them, but of sinking into some kind of mindless globalism. Consequently, the elites and the people cannot agree with each other on cooperation. I can mention many countries, but if the people and elites cannot agree to cooperate, how can it become a representative democracy? Because here we have an elite that does not want to represent the people and is proud of not wanting to represent them. And here we have the people who are not represented. So link to continue reading, but I mean, Viktor Orban makes a lot of sense. So he's someone worth watching and following. If you can, I ought to follow him on Twitter. I don't know if his tweets can be automatically translated to English, but I've heard good things about him, and I think I'll continue to hear good things about him. Continuing with Zero Hedge. Just shifting my weight here. And just checking on chats. Okay, moving on. A digital euro to be the most private electronic payment option, the European Central Bank claims. Now, this is how the elites impose their will on people. That's how they, it's all through money, which I've said in the past. The digital euro will be one of the most private forms of electronic payment, according to a data protection official from the European Union. Well, do they have a white paper to back that up? On October 2nd, 2020, the European Central Bank released a report laying the groundwork for a central bank digital currency, CBDC, called the digital euro. The digital euro has been in its investigation phase since October 2021, during which the ECB officials and bankers hypothesized about its possible design and purpose. As of November 2023, the digital euro has entered the preparation phase, with possible legislative adoption expected by the last financial quarter of 2024. If the ECB can stick to its roadmap, digital euro use cases could roll out by November 2025. Despite still being in development, the digital euro is already facing resistance over privacy concerns. Yeah, they're saying, "Oh no," the European Central Bank is saying, "Oh, it's going to be private. You can trust it. Trust us, bro." Martin Damon, a data protection officer at the ECB, claimed in a June 13th blog post that the ECB is designing the digital euro to be the most private electronic payment option. To achieve this goal, the ECB must offer assurances to gain the trust of EU citizens to use the CBDC. Damon spoke with Cointelegraph about the issue, where he stressed that the ECB has no hidden agenda. Trust us, bro. We are committed to being as transparent as possible regarding the privacy aspects of the digital euro as our analysis progresses. We have nothing to hide. Tracking the digital euro's privacy issue. Most Europeans remain uninformed about the digital euro. A June 6th survey from Germany's central bank, the Deutsche Bundesbank, found that 59% of respondents knew nothing about it. The ECB has a prime opportunity to form the digital euro's narrative for most Europeans. The Bundesbank survey found that despite the widespread ignorance about the digital euro, 3/4 of respondents rated privacy regarding the digital euro as very important or important. In a 2024 progress report on the digital euro, the ECB said it would not collect financial data from clients. However, it will gather some data to comply with anti-money laundering regulations. Money laundering is the cover story for all sorts of crap regarding cryptocurrency and financial freedom. They said strong efforts to create a digital euro that requires the least data possible. As a principle, the euro system starting point is to process only as little as possible personal data required to fulfill our objectives. The ECB report mentioned how it is exploring technological solutions, namely pseudonymization, so that the euro system, the issuer and payment infrastructure provider, can't directly link transactions to specific individuals. Yeah, that's the nightmare scenario of central bank digital currencies. The powers that be can see what you spend money on, and they can actually restrict what you spend money on, or even turn off your money if they don't like your political opinion. Pseudonymization enhances privacy by replacing identity attributes with fictitious ones, thus hiding personal identities. This process allows authorities to analyze data without being directly traceable to individuals, maintaining the data's usefulness in transaction processing while protecting individual privacy. The pseudonymization strategy aligns with that of Richard Brown, R3's chief technology officer, who specializes in enterprise blockchain and CBDCs. Brown told Cointelegraph that an elegant solution to the digital euro's privacy problems would involve private firms unrelated to the government managing customers' direct commercial relationships as their personally identifiable data. He said that identifiable data would be kept away from the core record of financial transactions, also known as the ledger. Brown said that the ECB would only provide the core infrastructure and ledger for a digital euro, while private firms would act as wallet providers. This infrastructure would ease privacy concerns, especially if the privacy promises were backed by the force of law. No, the force of law needs to be backed by evidence and transparency. ECB pseudonymization. What kind of word is that? ECB pseudonymization approach follows this route as the payment service providers in charge of handling citizens' data would have segregated data stream with the euro system, making it impossible to directly identify end users or link any of the data it processes to a determined end user. This article goes on. Let me just clear my throat. I might take a break and get some water so I don't start sounding like Robert Kennedy Jr. Could the digital euro offer a backdoor for governments? Concerns remain that governments could have a backdoor into user data, as some information needs to be shared with authorities to satisfy AML regulations. David acknowledged the concern, but said that the number of mechanisms would prevent this from happening. The euro system would not be technically able to directly identify digital euro users, track their payments, nor legally allowed to do so, nor would we have a commercial incentive as a public institution. Damon said the ECB will adhere to the digital euros legislation. The proposal explicitly prohibits us from processing personal data to directly identify users. Trust us, bro. The ECB would be overseen by the European Data Protection Supervisor, an independent institution that supervises EU institutions and has the power to conduct audits and inspections. So, the European Court of Justice will intervene if the law is breached. If the EU Act is believed to violate EU treaties or fundamental rights, such as the right to privacy, the ECJ has the power to annul it. The ECJ has a history of defending privacy rights. The court invalidated the safe harbor 2015, and Privacy Shield 2020 frameworks, which provided data transfers between the EU and the United States. After found that these agreements did not adequately protect EU citizens' data from US government surveillance. Digital Eurosceptics still don't trust the project. Fiat currencies like the dollar or euro rely on the public's trust in the issuer. David said that trust and privacy are core aspects taken into account for the digital euro. Yeah, trust is the fundamental purpose of money. It's supposed to be a constant measure venue of exchange, which, for goods and services. Richard Turin, author of Cashless, China's Digital Currency Revolution, an influencer focused on CBDCs, told Cointelegraph that he believes the ECB's messaging on privacy is spot on, and their claims that the digital euro will be more private than existing card-based payments are true. Richard Turin, I need to make a note about him. He needs to be investigated. I'm just opening Notepad. There we go. Any deep state flack who says, "Oh yeah, the regime is great," needs to be investigated. However, he said that once this ECB launches the final design, we'll all need to take a look to ensure their claims of privacy, but they're off to a good start. Despite the assurances offered by the ECB backed by solid laws and supervising authorities, mistrust remains. Joanna Kotar, an independent German member of the parliament and organizer of the awareness campaign Bitcoin im Bundestag, told Cointelegraph that history has demonstrated several cases where states repeatedly use new technologies against people. Kotar said, risks are successfully dismissed concerning legal frameworks that are supposed to rule out any abuse. She noted how the ECB does not mention that such laws can be rewritten or circumvented. I believe that blind faith in the ECB is reckless, no matter what political promises have been made. Bingo. Josh Swihart, CEO of Electric Coin Company, which created the privacy coin Zcash, claims that the CBDC design allows issuers to have visibility into balances and transactions and to be able to take actions such as blacklisting addresses or freezing funds. Exactly what I said. He told Cointelegraph that under such a structure, complete financial privacy isn't guaranteed. Privacy is not binary. It's a gradient. Swihart highlighted how governments can mandate the use of their centrally controlled currency and suppress alternatives, such as privacy protecting crypto. ECB has repeatedly stated that the digital euro is not intended to substitute other payment solutions, and that a government mandate would enforce the use of the CBDC. Despite the ECB's good intentions, Swihart believes that even if that control is not exercised abusively today, it's a slippery slope. He highlighted that how power doesn't typically exceed power, adding that once an individual gives up the rights to governments, it typically leads to greater invasions of freedom rather than less. How did they foist the income tax on us in the United States, even though the 16th Amendment is obviously unconstitutional? They said, "Oh, we're only going to tax the rich." Well, that only lasted for a few years, and then it crept up into the normal citizens. And then they introduced so many laws and loopholes to let the rich off the hook. So any Democrat flack who says we got to tax the rich, they aren't serious because they never address the loopholes and the Byzantine labyrinth complicated tax code. If you really want to tax the rich and make taxes fair, you need to simplify the tax code. And narcissists and psychopaths and other close to be personalities aren't going to do that willingly. We got to shame them, we got to expose them, and we got to assert the right of the majority, which is healthy, mentally healthy, well-adjusted individuals. We got to counteract their emotional abuse. Now, Speaking of money, this is an article from Cointelegraph by way of Zero Hedge again. Decentralized finance may be experiencing a revival, with key metrics such as active loans and total value locked on the rise since their more recent lows in 2023. Crypto market analytics platform Token Terminal proclaimed that DeFi is waking up again in a July 31st post on X. It backed up this claim with charts and statistics, one of which was for active loans, which have returned to levels not seen since early 2022 at around $13.3 billion. DeFi lending allows investors to lend out their crypto holdings to borrowers while earning interest on the loans. Lending and borrowing activity is a key metric for gauging DeFi participation and overall market health. Okay, right away, I'm thinking that's probably not the real purpose of cryptocurrency, because charging interest on loans is a grave sin according to the Bible. DeFi active loans hit a peak during the crypto bull run of 2021 at $22.2 billion when Bitcoin and Ether were pushing 69,000 and 4,800 respectively. It fell soon after, hitting around $10 billion in March 2022 before plummeting down to $3.1 billion in January 2023. However, since last year's low, there's been a significant recovery in DeFi lending, according to a Token Terminal. The company added that active loans can mean leverage is increasing, which is a leading indicator of a bull market. DeFi total value locked also took a massive hit in 2023, with TVL falling 80% from its November 2021 peak of $180 billion to around $37 billion in October 2023. However, since then, the sector has recovered roughly 160%, with TVL now standing at around $96.5 billion, according to DeFi Llama. Additionally, DeFi TVL doubled in the first half of 2024 from around $54 billion to peak at $109 billion in June. Speaking on overall sector growth, founder of DeFi protocol Synthetics, Kane Warwick, told Cointelegraph, the infrastructure has been ready for a while, but is still enthusiasts using DeFi. So yeah, decentralized finance compared to centralized finance or traditional finance, DeFi is another parallel system to get your money out of the system and into your own control. Kane and the team are working on and have launched an on-chain gateway called InfiniX, which has also been dubbed the UX layer of DeFi, aiming to facilitate the bridging of assets between different blockchains. In a July 30th X post, Humble Farmer Academy founder Taiki Maeda commented that the sector is approaching a period of DeFi renaissance after more than 4 years of extreme underperformance. He was referring specifically to the DeFi lending platform Aave, which he said was poised to outperform due to its supply of its native stablecoin GHO surging, and Aave, decentralized autonomous organization DAO, taking great steps to lower costs and introduce new revenue drivers. So there's a lot of cryptocurrency and blockchain jargon here. A DAO stands for decentralized autonomous organization, and it's an organization that's run on the blockchain. It's run on a computer without the need of a human hierarchy of ranks. It's not run by humans with agendas and political backstabbing going on. It's run on a public ledger. So DAOs are probably the future replacement to the corporations. So if you hate your boss, if you hate your corporate job, look into DAOs. A stablecoin is any cryptocurrency that has like a value similar or equal to a country's currency. So USDC is a stablecoin that's equal to one USDC is equal to $1. So and USDT or Tether is another stablecoin that's equal to the dollar. There's some really concerning rumors about Tether. So if you're gonna exchange cryptocurrency on exchanges, I recommend use USDC, and I'll talk about that in the next sponsor in the next segment here. But finishing the article here, according to a CoinGecko, the majority of DeFi-related tokens are still in the depths of bear market lows. This category of crypto assets has a market capitalization share of just 3.4%. Native tokens, for some former darlings of DeFi, such as Aave, Curve DAO, and Uniswap, remain more than 80% from their all-time highs, despite the broader crypto market being down just 22% from its 2021 peak. So that's a lot of jargon. But we're going to talk about a decentralized finance cryptocurrency exchange where you can buy and sell Bitcoin and other well-established cryptocurrencies, and even make some passive income using that. And that is the Apex protocol. Link in the description. If you utilize this exchange, I'll get a little commission from your trades. But the way this works is Apex is a place where you can trade crypto, buy low, sell high. It's got a few different exchanges. There's Apex Omni and Apex Pro. Let's just look at Apex Pro. Bitcoin stable coins like USDC or US or Tether to do your exchanges. Then you trade with that. Then shout out you trade your stable coins back for US dollars. So you can they've got Bitcoin, they got Ethereum, they got all these tested and proven cryptocurrencies. They got a chart. Now, if buying and selling sounds complicated to you, Apex actually has a bot that will let you do it. So you can set up a grid bot. You got to connect your wallet. So you got to have like a software cryptocurrency wallet like MetaMask or Coinbase wallet. And if you have any like Ethereum or stable coins on there, you can connect your wallet to this with this button, and then you can set up a bot to buy and trade for you automatically. You don't have to do anything. This will make passive income for you. It's going to be slow going at first. I tried this out a few months ago and was kind of disappointed by how slow it was going. But give it time, and you might actually build a nice side hustle for yourself and not have to worry about actually working. So look into that. Link in the description. I'll get a little kickback. But really, this is a great opportunity. I mean, like I said, it starts slow, but it builds up. Moving on to the discussion with cryptocurrency, we're coming to Bitcoin Magazine. Bitcoin Magazine is one of the most based, knowledgeable websites, news websites dealing with libertarian and economic liberty that you can find. Trump embraces the Bitcoin dollar. Stablecoins to entrench the U.S. financial hegemony. So now that Trump has embraced Bitcoin, cryptocurrency is really going to start getting into the mainstream. We talk about the European. We talk about the central bank digital currency in Europe, the digital euro. Not a lot of people know what it is because it hasn't reached mainstream discussion. Bitcoin is going to cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin is the true digital money alternative to a CBDC. Bitcoin runs on a public ledger, so everyone can see, transactions. It is decentralized. No single person or organization can control it, and there's no censorship on it. And there's going to be a finite supply. People are mining cryptocurrency Bitcoin right now on their computers and their devices, but eventually, Bitcoin has been set at a limit. There's going to be a limit of 21 million Bitcoin, and that's all there's ever going to be. So there's going to be a finite supply, so there's going to be no inflation. This past Saturday, former President Donald Trump addressed the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, Tennessee, expounding on the crypto and Bitcoin policies likely to be implemented as part of a likely feature of a future Trump administration. Speaking in front of a banner emblazoned with the logo of Zapo Bank, an institution that hopes to serve as a global bridge between Bitcoin, the US dollar, and stablecoins, Trump's speech revealed a policy vision that would integrate those three in order to extend the dominance of the US dollar to new frontiers all around the world. He said in the past he doesn't want Bitcoin to be the world currency. He wants the dollar to be the world reserve currency. He likes the dollar. Well, do we actually have a real dollar right now, or do we have a Federal Reserve note? A dollar is supposed to be a unit of value, but right now we have units of debt that we buy and sell with. Talk of a threatened dollar has been circulating for years, with the petrodollar system now having ended and increasingly influential power blocks seeking alternatives to the dollar as a reserve currency. However, Trump, in his recent speech, seems poised to employ Bitcoin as a sink for out-of-control U.S. government debt and to unleash the expansion of digital dollar stablecoins, which are already quietly dollarizing numerous countries in the global south, and as consequences of its COVID-era fiscal policies continue to decimate the purchasing power of the 99% globally. Trump promised, among other things, to create a framework to enable the safe, responsible expansion of stablecoins, allowing us to extend the dominance of the US dollar to new frontiers all around the world. He then asserted that, as a result of his future administration's embrace of dollar stablecoins, America will be richer and the world will be better, and there will be billions and billions of people brought into the crypto economy and storing their savings in Bitcoin. Bitcoin mining is also a later focus of the speech, with Trump claiming that America will become the world's undisputed Bitcoin mining powerhouse. This would further entrench something else touched on by Trump, that the United States government is among the largest holders of Bitcoin. I saw a graph that said, there's lots of institutional and government holders of Bitcoin, but the majority of Bitcoin is held by individual hodlers, by individual investors. So that's a really good sign. If all of these institutions, buy into what little Bitcoin is available left, that'll increase the value of the Bitcoin held by individuals, and we're going to be so much more wealthy. Just hang on. If we can hang on to the election economically, we'll be okay. Three more months to go. He then discussed his views on the relationship between Bitcoin and the dollar. Bitcoin is not threatening the dollar. The behavior of the current U.S. government is really threatening the dollar. However, the threatening behavior to which Trump refers, the perpetual money printing of the Federal Reserve System, has been the policy of every U.S. president for roughly the past century, with Trump himself being no exception. Indeed, under Trump, more money was printed than any other president in history, as the COVID-19 crisis unleashed the largest flood of federal money into the United States economy in recorded history. With trillions printed to enable the government's policy of lockdowns and government purchases of experimental vaccines, the U.S. national debt grew by $8.18 trillion under Trump, keeping up with the pattern of rapid debt expansion by his predecessor, Barack Obama, who grew the debt by $8.34 trillion during his 8 years in office. Thus, any policy that unites Bitcoin and the dollar, whether under Trump or another future president, will most likely be aimed at enabling the same monetary policy that currently threatens the dollar. The most likely outcome under Trump, as outlets like CNBC have speculated, will be making Bitcoin a reserve asset and, as a consequence, a sink for the inflation caused by the government's perpetual expansion of the money supply. Ironically, Bitcoin would then become the enabler of the very problem it had long been heralded as solving. Well, the thing about Trump is people really weren't aware of the Federal Reserve and its true evil during his first term. Right now, his mission is to wake people up. But he had to play within the system during his first term. Right now, we're dismantling the system through the Great Awakening and through the information war. So once we figure out the enemy, once we figure out how they operate, Then we'll be able to save the U.S. dollar, save the economy, the way Trump and the Patriots and the White House really intended. But first, we have to, dismantle their empire of lies. Continuing with the article, not only that, but Bitcoin would then become the anchor that would allow the U.S. government to weaponize the dollar against economies where local currencies fail to withstand the pressures of an increasingly unstable economy, effectively supplanting the local currency with digital dollars. This phenomenon, already underway in countries like Argentina, brings with it significant opportunities for the U.S. government to financially surveil billions and billions of people to be brought onto dollar stablecoin platforms, some of which have already onboarded the FBI and Secret Service and frozen wallets at their request. Considering that private stablecoin platforms are already so intertwined with the government known to warrantlessly surveil civilians, both domestically and abroad, the surveillance concerns are analogous to surveillance concerns around central bank digital currencies. In addition, with stablecoins being just as programmable as CBDCs, the difference between stablecoins and a CBDC would revolve largely around whether the public or private or public sector is issuing them, as both would retain the same functionality in terms of surveillance and programmability, and have led many to view such currencies as threats to freedom and privacy. Thus, Trump's rejection of CBDCs, but embrace of dollar stablecoins on Saturday, shows a rejection of direct digital currency issuance by the Federal Reserve, not a rejection of surveillable, programmable money. So the question remains, why wouldn't the U.S. government just make a retail-facing CBDC? For starters, there are likely more limitations for a public sector entity on who and what they can restrict on their platforms. However, the main reason is mostly an economic one. They need to sell their debt to someone to perpetuate the U.S. Treasury system. Let's see here. Let's just see how long this article is. Holy crap! Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Let's just skip down to the last few paragraphs. Orange-pilled orange man. With President Biden pulling out of the race, a Trump victory in November seems more plausible than not. Trump is likely to be just as pro-Bitcoin as he espoused on Saturday, but only in the sense that he will support Bitcoin policies that support the Bitcoin ambitions of his private banker friends, such as Larry Fink, who has frequently stated since his about face on the issue of that Bitcoin is a technology for asset storage and nothing more. I don't know if Trump and Fink are friends. This article is a little I said Bitcoin magazine is a really based, pro-freedom website, but always take everything you read with a grain of salt. The strategy recently laid out by Trump envisions a regulatory environment that would prevent a person from being Bitcoin only, as Bitcoin, the U.S. dollar, and dollar stablecoins come together to form a financial system that will please both the U.S. military-industrial complex and Wall Street in equal measure. In addition, given that Trump's previous fiscal policy involved allowing BlackRock to essentially design and implement a premeditated plan for mass theft of the wealth of regular Americans, it is fair to assume that the risk of Trump's promised regulatory framework enabling the same is considerable. The government lockdowns in 2020 crushed economic demand, while the Fed, Treasury, and their private partners like BlackRock used emergency resolutions to create trillions of dollars to purchase assets for pennies on the dollar. Now that economic activity has been allowed to resume, the same actors plan to hyperinflate the dollar into those assets acquired during COVID, likely enabling yet another massive wealth transfer once the next downturn makes itself known. With Saturday's speech, it seems our likely next president intends to formally ring in a new financial system upon his commencement by delivering his now articulated promise to make America and the dollar great again with Bitcoin and private sector stablecoins. Bitcoin is undoubtedly a financial revolution. It just may not be the one you signed up for. This is a guest post by Mark Goodwin and Whitney Webb. Opinions expressed are entirely their own and do not reflect those of Bitcoin Inc. or Bitcoin Magazine. Okay, good. Like I said, Trump has had to walk the tightrope. Like J.D. Vance, he's walking the tightrope. He's threading the needle. He has to he had to play within the central bank system. Right now, like I said, we're in the process of dismantling the illusions about the central bank system. And once we do, Trump will Trump's real plan will be able to go forth. So why did Trump change his mind on Bitcoin? Here's another piece by Bitcoin Magazine. I'm not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money, and on whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. Thankfully, the official position of the Republican Party has changed dramatically since President Donald J. Trump condemned the emerging crypto industry in those uncompromising terms back in 2019. Earlier this month, the Republican National Committee adopted an ambitious platform to promote innovation in the U.S. digital assets industry and protect the rights of Bitcoin holders. For one, the official platform pledges that Republicans will defend the right to mine Bitcoin. This represents a much-needed departure from the policies of the incumbent administration. In February this year, the U.S. Department of Energy's Energy Information Administration, EIA, issued an emergency survey to Bitcoin mining companies, demanding highly sensitive information such as the specifications of machines being used, the specific locations of their mining operations, and contractual information relating to their commercial energy partners. The EIA has not only demanded all this information, but pledged to punish even those most commercially sensitive bits of it. This initiative represented an unprecedented intrusion into the activities of Bitcoin miners and a massive assault on the crypto industry. It prompted organizations such as the Texas Blockchain Council to launch legal proceedings to try and protect the rights of the crypto industry against federal outreach. The Republicans' pledge to defend the right to mine Bitcoin is therefore very welcome. There are other encouraging pledges that the Republicans have made. The GOP has said they will ensure every American has the right to self-custody their digital assets and transact free from government surveillance and control. They have also come out strongly against the idea of a CBDC. Republicans will end Democrats' unlawful and un-American crypto crackdown to oppose the creation of central bank digital currency, the party has said. Of course, all of this is highly encouraging for digital asset industry advocates, but it still begs the question: what caused Trump to change his mind and start embracing the massive potential of digital assets and decentralized finance? How has this pro-digital asset agenda evolved into the limelight of presidential politics? My theory is Trump has been pro-Bitcoin all along. He just had to, he couldn't outright say it because the bankers have assassinated presidents in the past. If there's one man who's contributed more than anybody else to changing Republicans' mind on crypto, it is Vivek Ramaswamy. The former Republican presidential candidate and entrepreneur is clearly having increasing amounts of influence on the GOP inner circle. At the Republican convention this month, Donald Trump Jr. joked that he would like Ramaswamy to be his running mate in 2036. Indeed, ever since his presidential bid last year, it is clear that he has been one of the leading voices at the upper echelons of the Republicans, guiding the party in a more pro-crypto direction. Ramaswamy made waves in GOP circles when, at the North American Blockchain Summit in Texas last year, he released and detailed a comprehensive plan for the U.S. crypto space. What did he pledge to do? Perhaps the most eye-catching measure was his promise to fire most of the employees of the bloated Securities and Exchange Commission and order the rest to stop trying to bully the crypto industry. Importantly, Ramaswamy defines many cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin as commodities and therefore not under the jurisdiction of the SEC. And Gary Gensler has said this before when he was an MIT professor. So for him as the SEC chairman to persecute crypto so badly is a dark stain on his reputation. I think it's nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, cannot even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not, Ramaswamy said during one of the Republican debates last year. This is just another example of the administrative state gone too far. Ramaswamy has been a vocal advocate for innovation in the crypto space and the use of decentralized digital currencies as a tool for financial freedom. He has argued that the right to code should be a right protected by the First Amendment, protecting developers from the overreaches of federal agencies. He also said that consumers should have a right to possess self-hosted digital wallets beyond the grasp of government. This has now been explicitly adopted by the Republicans for their 2024 election campaign. Showing the practical influence Ramaswamy is having on Republican policy. It is not just Ramaswamy who's been positively influencing Republican policy. Back in May last year, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, brought into force a law banning any potential CBDC being used in the state. The regulation prohibits the use of a federally adopted CBDC by excluding it from the definition of money within the Florida's Uniform Commercial Code. Efforts like this have been essential in making the Republican leadership aware of the dangers associated with CBDCs and prompting them to pledge action. But arguably, the most important impact of Ramaswamy's crypto activism is to persuade the broader Republican Party that supporting crypto innovation is in line with their political philosophy and natural instincts. He has powerfully argued that the current federal assault on the crypto industry is an embodiment of our national decline, and the way it represents an attack on innovation and entrepreneurship, two values the Republicans have always claimed to hold dear. Ramaswamy has similarly noted that Bitcoin mining is a frontier in American innovation, in the same tradition as American heroes such as Thomas Jefferson, who Ramaswamy thinks would have been a Bitcoin miner. This rhetoric seems to have worked in convincing President Trump and Republican leaders they should indeed be the pro-Bitcoin party. Another key emerging feature in the Republican Party is of a similar mind on digital assets as Vivek is. This is a badly written paragraph. Another key emerging feature in the Republican Party who is of similar mind on digital assets as Vivek is Trump's recent VP pick, J.D. Vance. Senator Vance is vocal about his support for Bitcoin and digital assets and has a background in tech venture capital. He's young and understands the importance of courting younger voters. So what will 4 more years of President Trump mean for the U.S. digital asset industry? Let's end as we started, with another quote from the president, one that shows, thanks to the efforts of Vivek Ramaswamy, Senator Vance, and others, just how much the Republican stance on crypto has changed over the past few years. I will end Joe Biden's war on crypto. I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin, it will be made in America. So, cool beans. Now some people are going to post crypto just because Trump supports it. Get the shot. Now this is really good news. I might have to include Truth Plus in my live streams and video content. Truth Media announces rollout of streaming platform Truth Plus. This is from Just the News. The author of this article is Ben Whedon. The Trump Media and Technology Group on Friday announced and phased rollout of Truth Plus, its new video streaming platform. First, we created Truth Social to provide a safe harbor for free speech on the internet, TMTG CEO Devin Nunes said, former congressman and base individual, in a press release. Now we're establishing a reliable home for great TV content that is neglected by the big corporations or is at risk of cancellation. And we are securing our own tech stack and hardware infrastructure to make our own CDN uncancelable. I look forward in the near future to launch many enhancements and adding great new content to the platform, he added. The rollout will require iOS users to update the app, while Android and web users will not need to do so. The update will permit users to view streamed content in conventional channel platform or through a smaller window, while users of the app's other features. Okay. The announcement thus far does not appear to have significantly impacted the company's stock price. However, DJT currently trades at just over $27 per share, roughly on par with Thursday's figures. The NASDAQ, more broadly, witnessed a significant tumble on Friday mornings. So there. Let's see. I don't have a moderator and I don't have a producer to check my chats. closing in on the end of this stream here. But let's go to the Epoch Times here. And we have to go through archives because Epoch Times, they don't paywall their articles, but their pop-up is just really annoying and really hard to get around. DDoS attacks. FBI, CISA warned that access to election information could be hindered. Cyber attacks can lead to people missing out on voter registration deadlines, said a security expert group. Oh no! What are we going to do? Guess we can't have an election. Federal agencies issued an alert of a possible cyber attack targeting the November elections, warning that a specific hacking technique could prevent access to critical election information. The alert was issued on Wednesday by the FBI and the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, aka CISA, for potential distributed denial of service, or DDoS attacks, against election infrastructure. In such attacks, internet servers are flooded with enough requests to slow down servers to such a point that they become inaccessible or crash. This prevents regular users from accessing the servers and online resources. In the context of elections, a DDoS attack could end up preventing voters from accessing websites detailing how to vote or register to vote. The agencies said the DDoS attacks could disrupt the availability of some election-related functions, like voter lookup tools or unofficial election night reporting. However, they also said that it would not affect the integrity of election processes. Trust me, bro. They're trying to warm us up. They're trying to lay down the pipe, as they say in Hollywood, for canceling the election. They need some sort of like false premise or distraction or cover story to either cancel the election or rig it, just as they did with COVID and the BLM riots. In the event of an attack against election infrastructure, the underlying data and internal systems would remain uncompromised, and anyone eligible to vote would still be able to cast a ballot, they said. With election day less than 100 days away, it is important to help put into context some of the incidents the American public may be seeing during the election cycle, said CISA Senior Advisor Kate Connolly. Despite the agency's claim that there have been no cases of Americans losing their votes from DDoS attacks, trust me, bro, it is possible that disruption from such an attack could affect voting, according to a post by the Center of Internet Security. A well-timed attack targeting the voter registration process could prevent certain people from accessing critical websites, resulting in those people missing out on registration deadlines, the center noted. They've already said this. This article goes on. Federal agencies said that hackers in the past have falsely claimed DDoS attacks have compromised the integrity of voting systems to mislead the public that their attacks can prevent a voter from casting a ballot or change votes already cast. So they're trying to confuse the issue. The FBI and CISA have no reporting to suggest that a DDoS attack has ever prevented an eligible voter from casting a ballot, compromised the integrity of any ballots cast, or disrupted the ability to tabulate votes or transmit election results in a timely manner, their alert stated. So what the hell was the 4 a.m. dump about? They advised people to contact their state and local election officials if the websites for the regional election offices are unavailable. In case of any confusion regarding election information, details should be sought out from official sources such as state officials, the alert said. Election offices have set up backup communication channels to disseminate information to voters in case threat actors do succeed in disrupting primary channels such as official websites. We're almost done with this article. Foreign influence on elections. The FBI CISA alert also follows concerns that rival nations such as China and Russia are seeking to influence elections through online operations. An April 2024 report from Microsoft said the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, acquired or repurposed several X accounts to seek perspectives on U.S. political topics. These accounts nearly exclusively post about U.S. domestic issues, ranging from American drug use, immigration policies, and racial tensions, but will occasionally comment on topics of interest to China, such as the Fukushima wastewater dumping or Chinese dissidents, the report stated. Some accounts post about political candidates and seek opinions from people, which reports suggest could be a CCP tactic to gain insight into Americans' views on their country's politics. More such accounts could be operating to increase intelligence gathering around key voting demographics within the United States, the report said. Meanwhile, a June report suggests that the Russia-linked copycat influence network has been using artificial intelligence to spread propaganda related to U.S. elections. Why is it always some criminal organization or hacker group in Russia rather than the Russian government themselves? Are they proxies? Are they just criminals, who happen to be in Russia? What's the deal? The network was found to be plagiarizing content from news sources, modifying them, and disseminating the modified articles to U.S. election-themed websites to more than 1,000 fake journalist accounts. AI-generated influence content allows influence actors like Copycop to rapidly launder emerging narratives targeting the 2024 elections and obscure their origin, making it harder to attribute influence operations to foreign adversaries, the report said. All of this is just some word salad to make us doubt the elections, and in case President Trump wins, they have to interfere in the election any way they can. They try to arrest him. They try to arrest Trump. They try to kill Trump. They try to next they're going to try either another pandemic or war or a cyber attack on the elections. We are learning more and more that they cannot let a real candidate succeed. Now, protect your information with NordVPN. NordVPN is another supporter of this channel. Got an affiliate link. Oh, why? Yeah. I thought I had my VPN on. Let me do that right now. I had to reboot my computer this morning, so maybe that's it. But with NordVPN, a VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and it's a way to keep your browsing history and your information private from the likes of cyber criminals, from big tech, from the deep state. But I repeat myself. So with the VPN, you can log on to any of their servers from around the world. There's a few benefits to this. One, like I said, you can protect your data, you can protect your browsing history and all that, and keep the powers that be from spying on you. Another benefit of this is to access content from other countries that might be restricted where you are. So suppose you want to watch, British Netflix shows, but they're not available in the U.S. Watch all the UK content to your heart's content. So go ahead, click on the link to a NordVPN. They've got all sorts of deals going on. And go ahead, NordVPN is the industry leader. I've done a lot of research. Here I'm saying, trust me, bro, but one of these days I might do a video on reading some articles and reviews on NordVPN and just show them just what a good resource they are. We're gonna wrap up the stream with some gaming news. This is from Niche Gamer. XP.GG gaming platform launches with Universal Battle Pass. So is this like another alternative to like Valve or to like Steam or Epic Game Store? Get good and get rewarded in Fortnite, CS2, and Overwatch. Purion Labs introduces the all-new XP.GG, a gaming platform that lets gamers get rewarded by getting good at their favorite games. XPGG features a universal battle pass integrated across all XPGG games. XPGG will launch August 1st with Fortnite. Counter-Strike 2 and Overwatch competitions will begin in late August, and more games being added each month. XPGG lets gamers get good and get rewarded by playing the games they really love, said Amos Whitewolf, co-founder of Purion and the CTO of XPGG. The more levels gamers unlock, the more rewards they get, and the higher chance they have of winning thousands of dollars of weekly prizes. Oh, so it's esports. We can't wait to introduce our gamers to our universal battle pass across all XPGG games, giving them a shot at real prizes for getting good. So the new XPGG and Season 0 of the Battle Pass launches August 1st with Fortnite, Counter-Strike 2, Overwatch competition. Okay, we already read that part. A universal battle pass that rewards gamers. Gamers can take on challenges in their favorite games designed to sharpen their skills and, in return, level up their universal battle pass. Season 0's prizes include a $6,000 gaming PC setup, a Fortnite-themed Secret Labs gaming chair, a PS5, a $1,000 CS2 knife, and more, totaling over $10,000 in value. Prizes will increase in value each season as more gamers get good and get rewarded. So, with the revelations about Mr. Beast and his sweepstakes with his candy and cookie companies, I'm starting to wonder if this is just like a lottery aimed at kids. This is a long article. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there you go. I'm starting to wonder if this is just another method of video game monetization that so many YouTube channels have railed against. Meanwhile, we've got popular fan translation and ROM hacking site romhacking.net ceases operations. So, ROM hacking is a method of creating fan-based games of popular franchises. I've seen gamers play The Legend of Zelda Randomized, which is the classic Legend of Zelda game title, with altered item drops, where it's got the layout of Hyrule that you remember from the NES days, but all the items that you thought were going to be where they were in different locations, so you had to play the game differently. That's one example of a ROM hack. There's like all sorts of examples of ROM hack. There's like a Super Poo World, I think it is, which is Super Mario World made really, really, really difficult with crazy, stunts required to complete the game. So let's read this. The long-running popular fan translation and ROM hacking site romhacking.net has announced they've effectively ceased operations due to numerous issues. While most ROM-related sites get shut down due to legal claims from original copyright holders and the legal gray area of ROMs, romhacking.net is shutting down over increasing hosting costs and what appears to be internal drama with now former collaborators. Originally launched back in 2005, romhacking.net became one of the main sources for fan translations of Japan-only games, as well as all the odd ROM hacks that put new spins on classic games. So if you didn't like the translation or localization of some Japanese game, you go to romhacking.net and get a better one, is what they're saying. Furthermore, site owner admin Nightcrawler posted a lengthy farewell message on the site detailing how they were hoping to hand off management of the site to someone else, possibly even just dumping the entire database and file archive to the general public for preservation's sake. Okay, that's good. An internal group suddenly emerged during this process at the end of last year, offering to help continue the site. After agreeing to their proposal and moving to hand off data and access, the site manager said they discovered a most dishonest and hateful group that had been dehumanizing them for a very long time. The site owner goes on to say that their personal details have been given out and deceitful plots have been made to cut them off, effectively setting them up as a target to destroying the process. After seeing this, they decided to immediately cease all site-related operations. This also meant cutting ties to their Discord and Twitter X social media, run by separate teams, both of which rejected the allegations made by the site admin. Things have been rocky between site staff and Discord staff for a while, and while Discord staff have been exploring possible ways forward, likely including severing their relationship with the existing site and its ownership, we are deeply confused and disappointed by the accusation of doxing and implication that we've been threatening. We categorically reject these allegations, the RomHacking.net staff on Discord and Twitter X said. While the RomHacking.net website will remain open for now, new submissions have been closed, and the site will effectively be read-only. Any host downloads and images, though, will only remain for as long as Dark Soul, FC and Chill, and FC Chill Calco will allow. A full snapshot of the site is on Internet Archive 2. I'm just going to click on this link. There's no preview. Archive. I'm going to bookmark this for later. Because I don't know if I want to do any ROM hacking games, but I do want to start streaming video game plays. I haven't really been a serious gamer for like 15 years, but I need to get back into the hobby because I love watching the industry. I love watching news and consuming news about the industry, the business side. Here's some news and a sign that traditional media is dying and a new power is rising. Game Informer magazine to close after 33 years. Game Informer was really just the outlet of GameStop, the gaming store. So we really couldn't trust Game Informer for really positive reviews and coverage of games because obvious conflict of interest. Game Informer magazine is closing after 33 years. The long-running U.S. publication will close its doors following over 3 decades. A letter posted to X reads, "After 33 thrilling years of bringing you the latest news, reviews, and insights from the ever-evolving world of gaming, it is with a heavy heart to announce the closure of Game Informer. From the early days of pixelated adventures, today's immersive virtual realms, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers. While our presses may stop, the passion for gaming we've cultivated together will continue to live on. Thank you for being part of our epic quest, and may your gaming adventures never end." Veterans of Game Informer include Andy McNamara, the publication's former editor, who now works at EA, Dan Reichert, now of Giant Bomb, and Ben Hansen, now of MinMax. Game Informer was known for its unprecedented access, revealing dozens of games during its history. Game Informer's parent company, GameStop, laid off several staff from its magazine operation in 2022. It is currently unclear if the online brand will continue. For the majority of its run, Game Informer was available only via GameStop-backed subscription. In 2024, it offered readers the chance to subscribe to the magazine outside of GameStop membership. So what we have here is access media. I mean, something published by a game retailer obviously was going to get access to the mainstream game developers. So why is access media such a problem? Because it's going to be biased. They have to kiss the ring in order to get their information from the corporations that they're reviewing. So they're not going to be critical. They're not going to be they're going to toe the line and not really serve the customer and be honest with them. So the reason Game Informer lasted this long was probably because of investor money and a lot of establishment money. So, and we're seeing all sorts of media empires crumble. One last article, then I'll check the chats. Bungie veterans Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy have reportedly left. So Bungie, another great legendary game developer, they were the creators of Halo and of Destiny. Destiny was really, controversial because of all the in-game monetization. You buy a game for $70, and then there's additional monetization like loot boxes and downloadable content. It's like, can't you be content to offer us a really solid title for the asking price? In-game monetization is okay if the game is free up front, like Fortnite is, but many gaming channels I follow just rail against Destiny. Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy, two Bungie veterans known for their work on the Destiny series, are reportedly no longer working at the company following the cancellation of the Payback project. According to journalist Jeff Grubb, working on his Game Mess Decides podcast, the duo was let go following the cancellation of Payback, an incubation project that is believed to would go on to become a game in the Destiny series, but not Destiny 3. Sorry, I got to shift my weight here. Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy are no longer at Bungie. They were let go, Grubb said. They were caught in the executive and leadership shakeup mentioned in the blog. Payback has been shelved. Grubb later clarified his comments, explaining that despite saying they were let go, it was more accurate to say they left due to leadership restructuring. The Payback project reportedly shut down in mid-June. On Wednesday, Bungie announced that it will lay off 220 staff, roughly 17% of the studio, with a further 155 staff being integrated into Sony Interactive Entertainment. I haven't read that whole story, but I think looks like Bungie is being bought by Sony. Imagine that. They created Halo, which was the greatest Xbox, Microsoft title of all time, and now they're now they're bought by the competition. It's like silly. According to Stephen Totilo's GameFile newsletter, which cites 3 separate sources, it's claimed that these cuts were already planned in early 2024, long before the final shape was released in June. Totilo's sources say this week's round of cuts was planned in early 2024 and couldn't have been avoided even if the final shape had been an enormous hit. I think Sony overpaid for Bungie, one source told Totilo. I think Bungie sold things they were just not able to deliver. Following the layoffs, now former Bungie staff have been taking to social media to criticize the studio, with many directing the blame at Bungie boss Pete Parsons. So, yeah, AAA gaming is nosediving. I covered this in my previous video earlier this week because AAA gaming is following in the footsteps of Hollywood. So, really, the future is independent gaming, independent indies, independent media, independent studios. Anyone with any real talent and skill can succeed on their own. Only hacks and social climbers are going to thrive in a corporation. And that corporation is not going to thrive with those types of people in them. So take heart. Any company with real values, with real integrity, is going to be able to weather the storm. I mean, we're in a transition right now, and things are rough. Like, a lot of us might be in debt. A lot of us might be behind on our bills. A lot of us might be behind on our rent or mortgage. But if we can invest in alternative assets, we can invest in like alternative forms of currency, even bartering items that you see the preppers, talk about. We can survive. So, and if you want to support this program and help yourself to economic, tools, click on the link in the description. I also promote Blackout Coffee. I wear this hat because I don't want to show you my bed head because I haven't showered today. Ha! All right, let's check chat here. I'm still a small channel. Any sport you follow, any audience I have, I know I'm very fortunate to have. And I know that it takes consistency and consistent hardworking output to grow an audience. And that's something that I struggle with because of my ADHD. I just some days I just don't have the dopamine required to do what I want to do, other than in my normal day jobs like testing software or driving Uber or Lyft. But I'm grateful, and I know I'm fortunate for every audience member I have. So if you find this content valuable, please like, share, and subscribe, and give it a thumbs up. And I will leave this content up for your viewing convenience later. So I will let you go. I'm a Houseman, letting you know it's okay to stand up for yourself. Over and out.